This past Sunday, I talked about our 4 prayers and I compared those to being like a party that God invites us to. In Matthew 22, it talks about this party that God is inviting a lot of people to, where he shares his heart and the things that are important to him with the people who have been invited to this party. God has shared his heart with PAC and has told us that award-winning towns, healing, multi-site, and demographics are important to his heart. I focused on the demographics of our church and saying if we wanted to participate in this party that God is calling us to, we needed to line up our hearts, line up our thinking with his when it comes to PAC Portage being a church that represents its demographics of its town, meaning 1/3 First Nations are in this church. And the same thing with PAC Nipawa. It would have to be a church that had 1/3 Filipino people in it. In order to become a church like that and to line up with God's thinking, our thinking needs to change. And in my sermon, I talked about ways in which I had to change my thinking. So my light bulb moment was there's a party that God is inviting me to, and in order to attend that party, my thinking needed to change. I want you to talk about your thinking and where it needs to change in order that our churches can be churches of 1/3 First Nations or 1/3 Filipino. And then my arrow is tell your house church what thinking isn't in line with God's heart on this issue. Have them pray for you. Don't offer excuses for those thoughts. Just confess them to each other. Watch out for them. And my final thing was my question. In order to attend this party that God is calling us to, we need to clothe ourselves correctly. And Colossians 3 tells us how to do that. It said, clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, patience, gentleness, forgiveness, and above all, with love. So I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you were those characteristics when dealing with a new immigrant or a Filipino person, or when dealing with a First Nations person? Did you clothe yourself in love? Share that with your house church and have a great time studying together and praying for each other.